like the Queen Elizabeth died, like what, last year or something like that, earlier this year.
Nobody
And
remembers.
and that was the fucking Queen of
Right.
England.
For how long? But you say it and people go, oh, yeah, that's right. Michael Jackson died. And yet anybody who is alive on the planet knows who MJ was. And yet they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's gone. Listen, if you are worried about what people think, about what they say, about their opinion, about whether you should or you shouldn't, and it takes you in the right direction, you're going to die. What do you?
Oftentimes in life, we're faced with the lack of desire to want to do things. For example, this morning, I really didn't want to go to the gym. But then you happen to come across somebody like Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer, otherwise known as the Spartan and Smashworks, and you realize that everything you are lacking in desire is an absolute slap in the face and bout of disrespect to God, the Creator, who's given you the opportunity to live this day in the fullest moment, the fullest capability of possible. And yet here you are whining and complaining, saying you don't feel like it. This guy is not only crushing life, dominating all areas of life. He's intelligent, he's accomplished, but he's got one fucking lung. He beat cancer at the brim of life loss. He came back and he's destroying it. Guys, you have a lot to learn from this dude. All right, here we go. The Spartan.
So, all right, man. Well, let's kick it off with just tell me and everybody who's
Let's do it
listening,
up.
a little bit about yourself, just to kind of build the context. I'm really
Yeah.
trying to help a lot of veterans and their transition out and really just kind of understand their place here within society. When I got out, I was super depressed, ready to just off myself. I was homeless, living out of my
Yep.
freaking truck in a tent. And so everything that I'm really doing is to help anybody really and to strengthen their resiliency and their mental, physical fortitude, but really also for vets. And I think that your story is really awesome, that it'll resonate with a lot of veterans and just show them that, like, dude, just shut up. You don't deserve anything. Keep pushing the fight forward in this private sector, the
Yeah.
civilian sector. And so, if you
Yeah.
wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, like your early life, kind of where you come from and how you were raised to
Yeah.
start off with.
Yeah. So, I mean, dad was a preacher. He was a school teacher for about 25 years, and then he became a preacher for another 26. So, teacher of sorts, right? And mom, medical, right, doctor. And so it was always this: you're going to go to med school, and I was like, it didn't really vibe with me, but I ended up doing all that. And when I got out, I went, this is not what I want to do. Like, it was legal drug pusher, man's inhumanity to man. Everybody has a fucking problem that needs to be fixed with a pill. And everything inside me, it just didn't work. I'm like, I don't like this. I can't fit this model. And I was just saying this to Brandy, my wife, this morning. I said that I guess the expansion, the advancement of medicine in modern society has been the single most amazing thing to increase health and longevity. And it has also been the single most amazing thing to fuck up the world in the most profound way. Because do they save lives? Absolutely. Listen, doctors that are doing their job in emergency care save lives.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors that say that they're going to help you be healthy are not. They're not the same. They're not
Yeah.
the same. Like when they took out my lung and they took a tumor out of my chest the size of a football, I needed a surgeon.
Yeah.
Some naturopath with a cream or a salve isn't going to rub it on me and it's going to magically go away with twigs and berries.
Right.
And I think the arrogance of both sides of that equation is extremely frustrating, because I've been on both sides of that fence, where I'm like, okay, if you drink more water, you happen to be healthier. If you eat good food, you happen to be healthier. If you take all these pills because you think you need them because you have this problem, well, is the problem still there if the pill goes away? Then you still have the fucking problem.
Right.
Right. And I even posted this morning, I said, here's the deal. If I stick my hand in a fire and I've got anesthesia in my hand, if somebody gave me an anesthetic, I ain't going to feel it. Is the damage still happening? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remove the anesthesia, hand is burnt to fuck. So
Mm-hmm.
I think people look at medicine as, because most people are very lazy inherently. They cover laziness with disbelief. Right. I think that's a very common issue. People go, there's no way that doesn't work for me. That can't happen for me. It's not possible. They're lucky. They have this disbelief because it covers up their own mindset about going, I'm not willing to do the work. And so that entire medical model didn't resonate with me. Medicine, yes. The medical model, no, because they're not the same. So I was like, all right, fine. So I ended up going down to California, went to school there, became sports med Cairo, went into all that, and grew this huge company in California And again, the board has their thumb on your head, right? You can't do this, you can't do that. And it's all a bunch of people that have, it'd be like me telling you how to do your job. And I have no fucking clue how to do it. But yet I have the degree that says I do, and I have the position that says I do. Dude, I don't know how to do what you do.
Yeah.
I would get killed if I went overseas. I'd be like, what the fuck? Right. I mean, I was raised on a farm and I shoot guns, but that's about all I got.
We call
right?
those officers in the military.
Yeah. But you're right. They're given a position based on a grade. But like I do jujitsu, right? My son does jujitsu and Muay Thai. He's been doing it for almost over 10 years now. He's dangerous as fuck, Joseph. Holy shit, this kid, he's got the right mentality because he will put you to sleep and hug you right afterwards. He's a good man. He's a good man, right? And he doesn't walk around with attitude, and yet he is a dangerous little kid, which is what you want, right? He's a genuinely dangerous man versus versus the erratic man who is emotional. Those are the people that go in and shoot up schools.
Dangerous, yeah.
Right? They're very, very dangerous to humanity because they run with this. They're so agreeable that they actually have bitterness in themselves because they're busy agreeing with everybody else to please everyone, but they're so quick to rush to put themselves second in line. Yep. And they'll line up to be exploited. You know, I'm like, that makes people go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And then they're told to feel and express themselves however they want. And then of course, when everything bottles up and cracks, well, they express themselves how they want.
In such a violent way because they're like, nobody's listening. And now they're given an outlet going, you should feel. Listen, it's harsh. Fuck your feelings. Shit needs to get done. I'm not saying don't feel. There's a difference. I'm not going, don't feel anything, be a robot, but fuck your feelings. Shit has to be done anyway. And I said it, I was on Brad Lee's podcast the other day, and I was like, we started talking. I said, 80% of the time, I don't want to do the shit I do. I fucking hate what I do. The work I have to do, but it has to be done. You know why? Because I have a wife I adore. I have 2 kids I love, and I have clients and customers and family and people like you that fucking matter to me. So I need to do it because I put the cross on my back that's so fucking big and drag it around because I go, it's my duty. And until I crumble, I can keep adding weight to that cross.
Dude, and it's what men are supposed to do. Yeah, it's fucking man's job.
It's how we're designed, right? It's how we're designed. We're designed for work. We're built to be tough. You know, the softies went, it's okay. You can just sit on a couch. 8-hour workday? How many 8-hour workdays have you had? None. Fuck, I don't know when that exists. I've never had one. You know, never. So when I went through all this and I was tired of people telling me what to do, you know, I was just tired of it going, but I want to do this to help them. And they're like, yeah, but you can't do that. Yeah, but I want to. So it was always battling, right? And I wound up getting cancer, I guess just over 18 years ago. And I spent $1 million inside of 3 months. Like I just went nuts. I went, fuck, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Screw it. So I hated everybody, hated God, my parents, everybody. I was just mad at everybody because I went, I'm healthy. The world owes me. Why am I the one, but some axe murderer or baby rapist, some jackass, like dregs of society gets to live to be 100, but I'm 32. No way. And it was like, you got 9 months to live. It was stage 3B, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was everywhere. It looked like I got shot with a shotgun. Like it was brutal. And what's weird is as soon as I found out, I started to get worse.
Yeah, mental, the mentality.
Such a huge, and the ones that don't want to admit that are the ones that go, it's not possible. And those are the same people that I go, cool, you ever watch a sad movie? Yeah. Did you cry? Yeah. Weird. Did you watch something and laugh? Yeah. Huh. So did you feel better when you laughed or cried? Well, I felt better when I laughed. Yeah. So nothing happens in the mind without it happening in the body, but you refuse to admit that when it comes to a disease. Are you fucking high? That's the first thing you want to do is start going, I refuse to accept this. And people go, well, it can't be like that. Well, maybe for you it won't. Dude, because you don't really believe it.
Just had this conversation yesterday with some of my old childhood friends. They're crying because they're saying 40, oh, my life is halfway over. And I'm like, you're fucked. Like, why would you ever think
it's already over? It's already over.
Yeah, no, screw that. Anyways,
a lot of people, they're already dead. They just won't be buried for another 50 years.
Yeah.
And they're willing to accept that. They're rolling over and showing their belly. I will fight and bleed and gouge and shoot and punch and kick until I am not here. That's all I know how to do. And I've never been any other way. But that's how you are born. You're born absolutely unstoppable and completely fearless. And you learn discipline along the way. And the discipline in the right direction is determined by you. The discipline in the wrong direction is determined by everybody else in your environment that goes, no, 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 don't do that. Do this instead because it's safer.
Yep.
But wherever you're playing safe in your life is where you're fucking up.
Dude, every time.
You know? And I see it. I go, oh, I can't get this to work. You're playing safe. Cannonball into the fucking water. Well, I want to dip my toe. What if it's cold? It's going to be cold. Well, what if I get wet? You're going to get wet. What if I struggle in the water? You're going to struggle. What else you got for me? None of it's going to kill you. You know, you've done crazy shit. You've done such crazy shit that has tested the capacity of human resilience. And it all started in the same place, your head.
Internally, yeah.
All of it. All of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is the difference between what you see and what I see? What you perceive it to be.
Yep.
That's it.
100%.
You know, and you and I can have the exact same event. Totally different experience.
Oh, 100%.
And that's just weird to me when people go, I'm going to choose to take the bad road. You know, it's the hypnosis of social conditioning. They sit there and they go, well, everybody else says I should feel like this, so I should feel like this. Yeah, but what do you say? And that's where I've always been this. Like, I'm confrontational as fuck. I'm abrasive on purpose because most of the time, I honestly think, and it's not meant to be arrogant, but I'm better than 99% of the people on the fucking planet because I think better. It's not meant to be a dick. It's because I'm like, you guys are selling yourself out for a life of mediocrity that you don't even want, but you will fight your way to stay to the bottom or stay at the bottom. How does that work? And those people die.
That's such a really interesting point too, that I think I'm better than other people, and then immediately it's like the crabs in the bucket. One crab starts to escape and everybody just, oh, you're such an arrogant piece of shit. And actually, this is one of the biggest things about the military, believe it or not. People think, oh, you're in the Marines, oh, you're in SOCOM, oh, you're in all this stuff, you must have all this amazing confidence, when the reality of it is, dude, one of the biggest struggles, dude, because you're just getting fucking shit on all day long. The moment you do something,
you get beat up all the time,
dude. And going into the private sector, this is a big contributing factor, I think, to a lot of vets and why they deal with so much depression, is because they can never get going. They can never really truly feel enthusiastic about themselves and the service and the real knowledge and experience that they're actually providing to people in the private sector. Because the moment that they start to feel elevated internally, they've got that, nope, just shut up, just sit in place. And that kills all momentum. They can't make any money. They end up staying broke, and then they end up offing themselves because they use a bunch of drugs and shit. And that's just that voice. Once that voice gains momentum going downhill, as you know, it could become a pretty treacherous path, man.
So loud. It's so loud. And the voice that tells you not to is almost invariably louder than the one that says you should.
Yeah.
Right? And because it's supported. The largest support group in the world are the people at the bottom. Because they go, well, we'll accept you. We'll support you. We've got you. Oh, you're a victim. Let me give you a big hug. It's okay. You're supposed to feel that way. Talk about your problems for a year. And don't worry, lay on this couch and just keep going over the same fucking problem over and over and over again. You selfish fuck. Are you kidding me? That doesn't make you better. Yeah. And yet, here's the best part. We'll support you. Don't worry, Joseph, we got you. We'll support you. We'll help you at the bottom. We got you. Big hug. Here's all the drugs. Here's the fluffy couch. Here, you don't have to work more than 17 minutes a day. Don't worry about that. The second you get ambitious, what are you doing? We hate you. What?
Oh, Mr. Big Money over there with his, fancy car or whatever. It's like, dude, why wouldn't you want to excel and elevate yourself to that same level? Like, why are we living in this fucking condition? Like, and then again,
I love when people win. Oh God, I love when people win. Like I get off on that so much when I'm like, holy shit. But to go back to what you were saying about this level of arrogance and having that ego, but nowadays, confidence and conviction is labeled as arrogance and ego.
And toxic masculinity.
And toxic masculinity. Dude, my dad was a 6'1" German man. He was as man as you could get. The guy would reach into a fire. I shit you not. The first time I saw him do this, I went, what? And he moved a log around, and then he just went back to doing what he was doing. And I still remember it. I'm like, holy shit. Of course, there's little 7-year-old Trevor going, I'm going to try that. And I get, within 6 inches of the fire and almost burned my hand off. But it's like, it was nothing. He wasn't trying to show off. He was just a man. He worked. He was gritty. He was abrasive. His hands were the size of a frying pan. They were always calloused. Like, and he was just a man. And I don't care if somebody's hands are calloused or not, but I care that you're just do man shit.
Yeah.
Be a man. It's
You're setting
okay.
that example. It is, and I have a lot of theories as to why I think that this message is being, propagated throughout, especially American society. It tears us apart, makes us weak from the inside. I mean, you're basically neutering a whole society by promoting this stuff. But
Intentionally,
maybe a
intentionally.
maybe a
That
story for
insurgency, right? I think that insurgency is what it is. And
it, yeah,
it's
it's a
frightening
societal
to
one.
me. Yeah, it's frightening to me because the tactics and the strategies behind all of that are exactly what someone would do to take over something else.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, you understand that what's being done right now is exactly what would be done from the inside out if you're going to go somewhere else and demolish their entire system. And it's
Absolutely,
being done to
100%.
ourselves,
I
and
I
go
do,
ahead.
and this is a big reason why I think like the message that you and I both really support here in terms of like being a strong masculine male role model and successful. I think it's so important because I do believe good triumphs over evil. Now, what that struggle looks like, it has ups and downs, but I truly believe in the end, good triumphs over evil. And
Absolutely.
I think guys like us and our kids that we're raising and this culture that we're maintaining, and I think it's growing too, honestly. I really do think it
Yeah.
is. But that's going to be what pushes back against that, occupation, if you will, of our society, of our minds. And I think that
God,
it's so
that's a
important,
good explanation.
dude,
Occupation. That's fact, man.
because I really think it is, invading, and I think that it is a temporary thing. Now, how much ground they take in terms of the mind, only time will tell. But I think it's highly important, especially for veterans too. When I tell these guys, I'm like, dude, you guys are fucking killing yourselves left and right. 8 a day or 22 a day, 8,000 a year.
Oh,
Like, that's
ah,
insane. Like, who wants that to happen more than our nation's enemies? Who wants that to happen more than this group of elitists, who want to manipulate and control the way that we're thinking and living and believing?
yeah,
Nobody wants that to happen more than them, because they know
sure.
that the veteran community, especially in America, is going to be the number one that stands up against them with
Yeah.
masculinity, with critical free thought, and then ultimately with fighting if need be. So I'm always telling people, like, you got to stop being a victim, being a sucker to the agenda that the enemies want you to fucking be falling victim to. And of
Opposition
course,
ready to lose.
dude, and then of course the schools at this point I think are pretty much screwed.
Oh,
But um anyways,
dude,
let's
I,
well
I
let's
can't even I can't even wrap my head around the schools right now. I'm 50 and I'm like, if I would have had a teacher we walked, so every morning we get up. I think one of the keys to having an amazing life is make your days as predictable as you possibly can. So
yeah,
my day is always predictable. I know what I'm going to do all day long. And then when anything else comes that's not within that, prediction that I have from the day before or what I know is going to happen, I already know I'm going to be able to handle it because I've stacked so many wins because I've done all the stuff I know I'm going to do.
yeah,
And so it gives me that confidence going, I've already stacked 20 wins today. I don't know how to do it, but I know I'm going to win. So one of
dude.
them is we go and get coffee, right? So we go and get coffee every morning. And as we were walking up there, I said, it's weird that I said to Brandy, I said that people go to school. And I said, they're not talking about their teacher and who they have, but when your teacher has a pair of tits and then your son comes home and goes, yeah, and they also have a penis. And you're like, what? They've got blue hair, boobs, and a dick. How is that a teacher that's allowed to be in the school? I'm
Saying
sorry. I have
support
no
Hamas.
sim. I don't think that even makes sense. I think,
Yeah,
listen, there are two genders. This is a whole other conversation, but I'm like, there are two. And if you, this is the best part. I'm transitioning from man to woman. You're still just the other gender.
I
You're
mean,
still only two.
even if you do transition completely, you still have an
You are
X,
just the other
or
dude. XY, XX. What are you? Right. And this
yeah,
is part of the problem is what they're teaching kids doesn't make sense. And that's our future.
yeah,
So when you said it, like we're training our kids, I'm training my son and my daughter to be a leader
hmm,
because I think leadership is often the problem and leadership is usually the solution.
I
And it
agree.
begins with self. And so like for me, when I came out and I mean, I got smashed with cancer. I sat in my apartment and I'll polish up the story. I sat in my apartment. I was broke. I had nothing. Like I was going to get evicted. I had shitty ass old furniture. I had spent all my money and I went, I'm done. I hated God. I thought God was out to get me. And my dad's like, that's not how it works, man. And I was like, I don't care. I hate him. And I wasn't going to let him win. So I went, fine. I sat on my floor and I said, you better give me a fucking reason to be here. And I grabbed my gun And I sat there and I was shaking and bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, I'm going to end it. I'm not going to let him win. I'll do it, because I felt like I was going to be the winner if I did that. And then I fell asleep, bawling my eyes out on the floor. And 2 days later, I met my wife.
Wow.
And that's where it went from there. 3 months later, we were engaged. 3 months after that, we were married. And it's been 18 years. And she's my best friend. So, but she believed in me when I didn't. And I think that's one of the most incredible things. Like, she has called herself my angel from the day I met her. And I knew the second I saw her, like, I had to sit there and tell her I have cancer.
Yeah.
And I sat there on our first date. And I mean, I've said this story so many times. I'm like, I went, fuck, I got to tell this woman that I have cancer. And I got to take the chance that she's going to get up and walk away, because I can't be the guy that goes, let's get involved and go, oh, by the way, later. Because that's just, you're a shitbag if you do that.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that. So I told her, I said, I got to tell you something. And she goes, is it about cancer? I'm like, yeah, that's really weird that you know. And she's like, yeah, well, because she was the trainer at the gym I went to. And she said, well, you know, a lot of the other trainers, they've seen you coughing up blood in the locker room, and they've seen you sick and they've stuff. And she's like, so I know. And I said, well, listen, Brandy, they didn't give me a lot of time. And I said, they gave me less than a year. And she goes, she didn't miss a beat. Like, she didn't even blink. She goes, I want it all. She goes, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years. She goes, I don't care. She goes, I want all your time. And I was like, holy shit. And 3 months later, you know, like I said, engaged. 3 months after that, married. And it's been just a crazy ride ever since. And we've never stopped. And we've been through crazy shit. But I always look at us like, even in life, I look at something and I go, listen, it didn't work today. All right, we'll go to bed. We'll try again tomorrow. I don't go to bed and go, fuck it. Like I said, we're in this swipe right society where it's like, it's not working. Dude, you tried once.
Mm-hmm.
How is that not working? You try until you get it.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't work that way. No, somebody taught you to believe that. It always works that way. If you refuse to quit, you will get it. You will get it. And there's always the extremists, right? The weakest form of every argument is to argue the extremes on either end. And they're like, true. Well, so if I keep trying to fly by jumping off a building, oh, fuck, you are natural selection at its finest. Jump. You're already like fucking space cadet. You're out. Don't worry about it. But the rest of the masses just keep going. But somebody has to give you a reason. And I think people are running around without a purpose.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of white space on their calendar, and they're being told to have white space on the calendar.
Yeah.
Right. But when you have white space on the calendar, the devil appears in the form of distraction. And we seek distraction because it's easy, except when we're done with the distraction, we look back at what we should have done. And now we have remorse. And I think people look at success and they hate on success of others. Probably 90% of the people get triggered by seeing somebody else win, only because it's doing this. Look at me. Look at me. I'm winning and I'm where you were. And the person goes, I fucking know it. I know I could have done the work, but I'm not doing it. And I know I'm lazy. So they despise themselves. They reflect that on you when you're winning, because they know they should be doing the work. And it forces them to look at the framework of themselves and how arrogant they are to go, I'm above my problems. But if you lower yourself to not be above your problems, then you can handle your problems. But if you're like, I'm above them, they're not my problems, they're your problems. Well, if I say, well, Joseph, it's your fault, I can't control you, which means it absolves me of the responsibility of doing the work, and I wait for you. But while I'm waiting, I'm shit talking myself in my brain.
Yeah, because you're not in alignment with your conscious and the things that you're supposed to.
So incongruent, incongruent. And I think people struggle finding a purpose, right? Because they're like, well, what's my purpose supposed to be? Stop looking for it so hard and look at yourself and go, what matters to you? And if you go, well, I got nothing, you're running too superficial. You're living on your feelings instead of what you should be doing inside. And that comes from just self-reflection and going, what do I need to do? What values do I have? Like, I have 6 core values. I run my life by them. And that's it. So number 1, do the work. Always do the work. It's easy. You want it. The answer to everything, do the work.
Yeah.
Number 2 is you're going to die. So quit waiting. Right. Number 3 is stop giving a fuck about what people say and do it for yourself. Right. Like, it's to think that the opinion of someone else matters is unbelievable when it comes to your life, because people will listen to the negative opinion, but when it's a positive opinion, they go, no, it's not true. I go, wait. So if someone calls you a piece of shit, you go, yeah, that's what I am. But someone goes, you're a killer. Nice work, man. I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so. You deflect that. So people are unwilling to accept something that's going to help elevate them because they're afraid of where it's going to take them, because they don't think they deserve to be there.
Yeah. Conditioning.
That scares me a lot. Number 4 is be vulnerable to your spouse. I think a lot of people, what happens is their marriages break up because they're running conversation in their head about what they should and shouldn't say to their spouse, or what information they should give and what they should keep to themselves. So it's taking up bandwidth in their brain. And so they're only giving 20, 30, 40% to their spouse. Well, that's the same thing you're going to receive then. Like, it's a fucking mirror
Yeah.
you live in, not a window.
Yeah.
And so when you're going, well, but I can't tell them this, that's your spouse. If there is anything that you're going to tell your spouse that you're going to get judged for, you better reevaluate why you guys are together.
Mm-hmm.
Because my wife said to me one time, both of us crying, it's probably about 3.5 years ago. And it was one of these, it doesn't matter what happens. It's us against the universe. It doesn't matter what it is. That's how it's supposed to be. But that's how it used to be. It's how my parents were. It's probably how your parents were. It's definitely how my grandparents were. My grandparents were married for like 190 years.
Yeah.
Like, it was forever. They were married for so long. And people go, well, yeah, but they did it because they had to. No, they did it because they chose to.
Yep.
You got idiots like, what's her name? Mia Khalifa going out, going, I think all women should not be married and you should have open relationships and you should never, I can have any man. First of all, no, you fucking can't. And second of all, that's such a shallow way of looking at life. That's why the society is screwed, is there's no commitment to long-term anything, goals, targets, relationships, like nothing. It's like, it didn't happen today. Forget it. If I didn't know how to shoot, like I always carry, right? So if I didn't know how to shoot this thing, I had no idea. And I go, Joseph, can you show me? And you go, sure. You just point, squeeze the trigger, and then leave. And then I'm like, okay. And then I do this. And it blows my thumb off. I'm an idiot because I didn't take the time to learn. And then I blame you because I go, well, you didn't teach me good enough. Mm-hmm. It's always someone else's fault. It's always, it doesn't happen fast enough. But yet, how many dry fires have you done? The number cannot be tabulated. It's that big.
No, that's, 10,000s.
Right. So you think about that. People aren't willing to do they want the next hack. They want the next thing that's going to be easy. They want the next thing that's going to make them have the answer faster, because you present them with the work and the solution that's required. And they go, yeah, but I don't like that one. Do you have a different one? And they just keep going, where's the easy one? Dude. It's going to be the boring, shitty grunt work that you don't want to do, because everything you want is on the other side of the work and struggle that you are avoiding.
Dude, I got 5 people right now doing like a fitness challenge, and the 2 who show up to all the weekly meetings, and I said this from day one, I said, you follow the workout, you follow the nutrition, you follow the meetings, you're going to be the most successful. The 2 who are doing it, one's down like 35 pounds from like 325 to like the 290s. Yeah, he's crushing it. The other one's down like 17 pounds. He was a smaller dude to begin with. But then there's this chick who like has gained like 2 pounds, and then another chick who's gained like 10 pounds. And they're hitting me up. They're like, well, when are we going to change the workouts? And I'm like, you haven't even started doing the normal workouts.
When you start doing the shit you're supposed to do.
And I was like, let me see your the meals you're eating. And they they don't message me back. And I'm like, look,
of course they ghost you on accountability.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they start talking about this new injection everybody's getting, which has like
Ozempic.
Dude, holy crazy side effects, man. Oh my God.
As soon as I heard, it's funny. We just had this conversation, Brandy and I said, you can get as fat as you want. And they go, here's an injection so you don't have to do the work. What the fuck? I don't know about you. I like doing the work.
Yeah, I
love doing the work.
I'm not taking no injection. That's for sure.
Get the fuck away from me. No way.
Yeah.
But so I'll give you the last 2 so I don't forget otherwise. So playing safe. Stop playing safe. Don't play. Take risks. Take fucking risks. And I said it before, where you're playing safe is where you're having problems. Where you're playing safe is where you're struggling. You never struggle when you're not playing, when you're just all in. When you're playing safe, you will always struggle, because your brain's going, I shouldn't. I'm going to do it, but what if it doesn't work? That's what you're thinking. What's not going to? Yeah, it's not going to work. Yeah. And the last one is never miss. Never miss. Like I never, ever, ever miss, ever. And I had one guy, I made a comment. It was a video I posted probably about 3-4 months ago. And he goes, listen to the ego on this guy. That's what's going to kill him. And I go, see, that's the problem. You think that by me saying I'm never going to miss, that I have a big ego, but I don't. What I have is conviction with the words that I say. I would rather say less You will have more respect for me if I use less words and follow through on all of them than just run my mouth for an hour straight about all the great things I'm going to do. And then 3 months later, you check in on Trev and I still haven't done shit.
Mm.
Right. So I think mean the words that come out of your mouth. And I just had this conversation with my daughter. I go, if you are actually specific about the words that come out of your mouth and you mean every one of them and you follow through and you do it, can you imagine the shit that there's nothing you can't do. If you do what you say, there is nothing you cannot do. You are the most dangerous person in the world because what you say comes to fruition.
If you say it, you mean it, and then you execute it.
99% of the people don't.
No.
They say it with the intention of no follow through. And it's been deemed as, that's okay though. You had a circumstance that says you can't do it. You never have a circumstance that says you can't do it. Never.
Dude.
I hobbled around a hospital with an oxygen machine and like IVs and tubes the size of garden hoses coming out of my chest, missing a lung because I refused to stay in that bed when they told me to stay in the bed. And most people would have stayed in the bed and deteriorated into nothing and gone, I guess it was just his time. Guess it was just her time. No, it wasn't. When they took me in and I went in, I was in ICU. They locked my wife out of the hospital. They escorted her out, locked her out. I saw my kids through a 3rd floor window for a week and they wouldn't let her in, nothing. She had to sneak in every day. She snuck. She's a badass. My wife is a fucking badass.
Why'd they do that?
Well, they said because of COVID, we can't let anybody in. I'm like, so let me get this straight. Let's just say there's this hypothetical illness called the common cold. And let's label it something else and go, you should do this instead because it's going to kill people. No, it's not. What's killing people is all the shit you're giving them. Yeah. I have no problem saying it. Fact check this. Like you're full of shit. But I was in there. I was dying. Like it was over. And I'm like, I remember texting Brandy and I'm like, it was the only time in my life I've ever felt like I wasn't going to make it. And it was genuine. I've never felt it. It didn't scare me. I felt weird, oddly at peace. And I went, all right. So I started just sending her everything that we needed to manage in our life. I was like, I'm not going to make it, babe. I won't make it till the morning. I'm sorry. I want to be here. And she's crying and she sends me this message. She's like, I can't do this life without you. I need you. And I got angry at what was. And so I turned it into a thing instead of I turned it into a person. I go, you're going to die because I ain't going. And I'm scrappy as fuck. And I went to war. And 3-4 days later, I left the hospital. They fought me on it. They said I was going to die if I didn't leave or if I didn't stay. They tried to give me remdesivir. They gave me remdesivir for 3 days. Remdesivir protocol is 10 days. People die on day 9. And they proved it like that. Remdesivir is what they said is the answer to COVID. Turns out it's not. It's just kills people. And I mean, it's one of those things where if I give you a random injection of saline every day, I give you and I give 100,000 other people an injection of saline, and 5 of them have a positive reaction and the rest of them have nothing. Well, look at it works.
Yeah.
No, they're just fucking lucky. It just happened to be at the same time. Right. But that's what they did with all this is correlative studies, right? They didn't do actual studies. And besides research, you and I both know you can slant it any way you want. It's such bullshit, right? You can just literally spin it any direction.
Yeah.
So they started giving me remdesivir. I started to get really bad in the hospital, like really bad. I got worse. And Brandy, she's so smart, like crazy research smart. And she looks up all the stuff about this and she goes, we need to get you out of the hospital. She goes, I don't think they're helping you. And I was like, my wife, I trust my wife. I don't care who it is, my wife first. So I go, okay, let's go. And most people don't have that kind of conviction for their spouse, but I go, she will not do me dirty. So I'm like, okay, let's go. So it took them a long time to get out. I got home. I was literally training, oxygen hooked up to me, all skinny. And I started to get bad again. And 3 weeks later, I went to the hospital. They took a picture of me and I have a tumor the size of a football in my chest. It grew in 3 weeks.
So just a really, really quick step back.
Yeah.
So you were diagnosed at 32.
Mm-hmm. With non-Hodgkin's.
And so which is like, is that like a genetic thing or
no?
How did that happen?
I don't even believe in genetics. I really don't. People are like, for eye color, hair color, yeah, height, all that stuff like that. But epigenetics, much more so. Your environment affecting how you are, right? Like, and that's the fact.
So do you think it was
So
because of the stressful life that you were living, or your mindset, or like, how do you think
honestly,
it happened?
I don't even know, but I do know that California and where I was living has the highest rate of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in the world.
Oh shit.
So I went, where am I? Right? What's affecting me? Because
Where
I
were
mean, I
you?
had chicken, rice, and broccoli in my fridge. Like I didn't eat candy, I didn't drink, I didn't do anything.
What part of California?
Bay Area.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know if, again, if that's just correlative. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But I do know this. When I saw that, I went, all right, maybe that's it. I didn't look to blame either. I just went, this is what it is. I need to get rid of it.
Let's focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because otherwise you start looking at that and going, what caused it? I don't care what
yeah,
caused it. I have it. I need
yeah.
to get rid of it. Right.
It's like,
Because
yeah,
otherwise people spend all this time digging for the cause, but you're still not addressing the solution. Who fucking cares what caused it? You know, what made me
so
be broke? Who cares? Don't be
exactly,
broke.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, try not to make the same mistakes, obviously, but when you focus on the
Right.
surmounting debt, then that's all you fucking live in is the debt.
Dude, that's fuck. It's
Yeah,
fact, man. It's fact. So I went through chemo. I lost all my hair. I got covered in all these bruises. I went against it first. I was like, no. And then, of course, you get scared,
yeah,
right? And because you're like, I'm dying. And so I went through chemo. It messed me up so bad. And I could barely walk. I had these huge bruises. I'd puke all the time. My wife is pregnant, and there's me. Like they said, we'd never have kids. We got two. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if this is really doing any good. Like my hair's falling out in clumps,
yeah.
my eyebrows all patchy. And I finally went to my doctor and I said, if I was your son, would you do this? Would you do this to your son? And he's like, oh, absolutely. I go, listen, I bang my foot on the floor. He's like, fucking look at me. Dude, I look like a zombie, man. Are you kidding? And he got all teary eyed and he goes, no. And I said, okay. I stuck my hand out. I shook his hand. I said, the last time you're ever going to see me. And I
Yeah.
walked out. And and people go, well, how did you cure cancer? Well, we can get into the whole physiology about it, but you can't cure cancer. That's the problem, is you're trying to cure something that is a natural biological process of the body. Everybody has cancer all of the time. It's a mutated cell. Your body gets rid of it all the time. We turn over like, I don't know, like billions of cells a day.
Yeah.
1% of all those cells are mutated cells, and your body targets and gets rid of them. Right? And that's just how you're wired. Your body only recognizes two things, self and other. It recognizes it other, and your immune system goes to war and attacks it and kills it.
Hmm.
Well, now you get chemotherapy and it causes your body to produce more cells
Yeah.
because you kill more cells and the rate of mutation goes up.
And
So
it
the
just
second time I
destroys
got cancer,
everything.
it was chemotherapeutic induced cancer. I'm like, you have a fucking name for this?
Oh my God.
Holy shit. So that was about the time when I stopped listening to almost every doctor on earth. So I'm like, you guys are in it for nothing. You don't even buy your own message. You're not like, above all, do no harm. It's in the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Above all, do no harm. And now it is above all, make most profit.
Well, I mean, every patient is a lifetime average of what, like $30 million is what, like, with
That
all the
is the
insurance
most
costs, and everything.
bizarre thing I can ever get my head around is because fear tactics it's very easy to get somebody to buy something if you scare the shit out of them, right? And they'll buy into the message when there's an easy solution and they're terrified.
Mhm.
Like I'd sit there for 4 hours and watch the CHOP series of chemotherapy. Vincristine was one of them. It looked like syrup. It would take 4 hours. I'd sit there with a DVD player. That's how long ago it was. And I just never got better. So, I mean, fast forward to just over 2 years ago, and I got really
Yeah.
sick. And it was just pneumonia, but they labeled it as COVID-like. They didn't say COVID. They were tactical about it, but they said COVID-like, which boom, gives them a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So it was 3 weeks between ICU the first time and going into the hospital the second time. And the guy goes, when they took that x-ray, he goes, you need to go to ER right now. So I go to ER, they put me in. There was COVID patients lined up and down the hallways. There were tents outside. And I'm like, what the hell is this? They stuck me in this little glass box with a sliding door, one of the ER rooms, because ICU was filled. And they were like, well, okay, now we have to find a doctor. And then it turned out they're like, oh no, you need surgery. You need thoracic surgery. And my wife goes, what? She turned as white as the wall behind you. Like, it was scared the shit out of me and her, because I'm like, you are going to cut open my chest and go in and take something out. Like, you may as well do brain surgery. It's just as scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so 3 days I'm in the hospital. They're like, we can't find a doctor. We can't find a bed in all of Texas. And we don't know. And the whole time I'm doing this. It got to the point where towards the end, Joseph, I couldn't walk to the bathroom because I'd be gassed out and I would just get weak. So I had to pee in this little cup all the time, this little portable potty that I would sit there and they would track my urine all the time, right? But it was so bad. And I almost gave up. And my wife had just left on the third day. And I stood there. And I mean, when people don't believe in God, don't believe in God. I do. So it doesn't really matter. Right. But I started thanking God. I was like, thanks for making me a juggernaut, giving me another 50 years with my wife and kids, you know, making me just an example of what's possible, fixing me, healing me, giving me the best surgeon in the world. Like, just listed off so much stuff. And then I sat on my bed and I just started crying. And 10 minutes, I get this knock on the glass door as it slides open. And the guy goes, Trevor Bachmeyer? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I'm just letting you know your ride for your surgery tomorrow is going to be here in about 30 minutes. And I'm like, what? Get the kids. I sent to Brandy. The next day at noon, took out a tumor.
Man,
it's crazy. I woke up with tubes out of I went in, and the guy, I still remember, they put the IV here for anesthesia. And he goes, okay, you just might feel a little bit of burning and that's all I heard. Next thing I know, I wake up and I got tubes coming out of my chest and I'm still high. I gave my wife my phone and I said, film every single thing that happens. I don't care what it is. And so she did. So I have all kinds of footage of me waking up, all kinds of stuff. And I said, I was still pretty incoherent from surgery. And I said, get me out of this bed. And just before that, the doctor had said, all right, the surgery went well. It took longer than it was supposed to, but it went well. We got everything out. We had to take your left lung as well. And it didn't kind of register at the moment because I was still pretty high. And so I said, get me out of this bed. And the nurse is like, no. You just had thoracic surgery. You need to stay in bed. And I went, you can either get me out of the bed or pick me up off the fucking floor. Either way, I'm getting up. And so there's this nurse, and not her, this other nurse. Okay, come on. So I've got a box, tubes for my chest, IV lines on 2 IVs, oxygen in the wall. I look like a robot, and I'm holding the back of my robe because my bare ass is going to hang out. And I'm doing little laps around my room. And then the next day they unhook the vacuum, right? It's just to keep you from getting a attention memo, right? And then they unhooked the tubes, and I said, where can I go? Well, the vacuum tube. And they said, you just stay on this floor. So I said, okay. So I started doing laps around the nurse's station every day. And I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. I was home in 7.
Wow.
And by the time I was done, I was like, the first time took me 10 minutes to walk a lap. I remember my wife walked with me and we'd walk a couple of steps and I'd have to stop. I had the oxygen monitor. My sats would crash and I'd wait. All right, a couple more steps. Wait. It was brutal. I got home and my wife goes, what do you want to do? I said, I want to work out. She's like, okay. I hugged my kids and I went outside, hooked a sled up to my waist, put a 45 pound on it. And I started walking laps around my driveway. It's a big circular gravel driveway. And I said, just come get me when I can't walk anymore. And I haven't missed a day since.
Wow.
And I mean, there's so much footage of me with like these knobby knees. I'm 150 pounds. They rolled me out of the hospital in a wheelchair. And they said, here's 12 medications. Understand you're never going to do anything again. You're not going to run, be athletic. You just need to accept that. And I said, I just don't. And a lot of people go, well, yeah, but you're not the norm. No, actually, I am the norm. I'm the norm. There's just not a lot of us. And then people go, well, that doesn't make you the norm. No, it means that your thinking is so screwed up and so deteriorated that you have self-defeated so many times that you actually buy that message that you can't.
Right.
And that's where I think a lot of people come from, is they go, well, I've been told I can't. I've been told to be complacent. I've been told to stay where I'm at, that when I see this, I want to go over here. I automatically stop myself because the number of times people try and achieve their goal is usually less than 1 because they talk themselves out of it prior to engaging. You know, and I think that would be like a lot of, I think, veterans, like, God, you guys put foot to ass for the fucking country. It's ridiculous when I think you don't get the best, you get the worst. And if there isn't anything that's more exploited than that, I don't know what it is, because that's sad to me. It bothers me. You know, and like, even in my programs, I hook up veterans, I hook up Leos and veterans and medical personnel because I go, you guys fucking need it because you did something for me. And when shit goes sideways, who am I calling? Right. And yet, who gets the hate? I think people hate on winners, like I said, because it shows the framework, and they go, and they're taught to go, well, I can't do that. I'm not them. I've had people say, well, I don't have your story, so how can I do that? You don't need my story. You need yours.
Yeah.
and you need to change your story because your story is what's keeping you where you are. And then you tell everybody your story. You tell everybody how bad it is and how hard it is and how you can't get over that and how it's been such a long, hard road. Well, you're just reinforcing your position. I'm
And if
okay with you telling somebody your story, but then tell them what you're going to do about it.
and that's the thing, is if people would just actually come to the present moment and realize how much they've been selling themselves short, and then work towards elevating themselves in their life and achieving the goals, accomplishments, the dreams that they want, that right there is their story. I was so brainwashed
Yes.
by society. I was so fucking lazy, dumb, fat. I didn't even realize it because I was thinking that this was life. And then the moment that I drank the juice and finally woke up and realized, dude, I could change. And I
Which
changed my
pill?
internal thinking.
Right?
Exactly.
Which pill?
That's like the story. Like everybody can tell because there's trials and tribulations that come along with that. It's never an easy process.
No,
Um,
and it's going to be hard anyway. Like
it
people
always,
want easy, and I mean, it's always like I want easy. Where's the easy? I just haven't found it yet. Tell me where it is. If you got it, sign me up.
and
But it
then you
doesn't
got white
exist.
space. Then you got white space, and you start to self sabotage, and you're creating problems anyways to begin with.
You
So
look for
just
distractions, right?
accept that from now until the day that you die, it's going to always be some sort of struggle, but it's up to you to determine what direction that struggle is and what comes out of that. Is it going to be just you getting beat the fuck up, or is it going to be you being victorious throughout that process?
Sure. Like everything that tried to break me made me.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything. Because I could still, this could not be occurring. And I could be sitting on a couch over there, 100 pounds overweight, talking about how bad it is on an oxygen machine, going, well, because they
Hmm.
said you're going to be on oxygen for the rest of your life. I run almost every day.
Saying, oh, well, I had a lung removed and it's my victim story and
Yeah.
that's just who I am, which, so, but I want to kind of go back to that really quick. So
Yeah. Hit me.
did they remove the entire, like the entire
Mm-hmm.
lung?
Mm-hmm. Left low, the whole left lung.
Jesus, man. And how has, do you like feel differently in terms of like when you're working out, or have you conditioned yourself so far beyond that now? Like how has that affected your life
Yeah,
physically?
that's a good question. When I first came home and I started doing things, I mean, I couldn't do 10 air squats
Yeah.
because I would get gassed. And the weirdest part for me was I felt like I couldn't take a full breath no matter what I did because my brain was still going, there's something missing. But the other part was I would get winded so fast, like so fast. And it was like things that I realized this is just normal. How am I so gassed? I'd go for a walk and I'd tell my wife, we got to slow down.
Mm.
Excuse me, just a walk. And the first time I flipped upside down to do a handstand push-up, I almost blacked out because I went, oh, it was such a weird feeling. And so I started, like, now I'm very used to it. I notice it when I do things because I get winded still a little bit easier when I do things, but I'm pretty conditioned now. Like I can run, I can jump, I can do crazy ass workouts. And I mean, I post them all because people are like,
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, motherfucker, there you go. That's what I do. And I'm 50.
I mean, you're
So what do you
shredded.
got?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that at the beginning, yeah, it was more of a mental battle because there were times when almost all the time, actually, for probably 3 months, that I would be panicky, like not to the point, like I felt like I was suffocating and I knew there was no escape. It's the worst feeling. And I knew I had to go there. And I think what somebody asked me how you did it. They asked me this at the airport one time. They're like, how did you do that? They recognized me from a post and I was explaining all this. And I said, listen, it's because I put myself in a position that I knew was going to be horrible, but it wasn't the first time. It was the second time. And then every subsequent time after that, that became harder because I looked at it and the first time you don't know what's going to happen. But the second time, I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And that's the worst because you're like, fuck, I know this is going to suck. I know I'm going to feel like I'm suffocating. I know I'm pretty sure I'm going to die. And then it goes away and you're like, I didn't die. All right, I'll do it again. And so I kept going. And so there were almost every time I would ride the Airdyne or I'd do squat cleans or I would do something. It didn't matter what it was. And I'd get to the point where I was almost redline. And it's Texas air is so humid. I'd have to go in the house and I'm on all fours, dripping sweat, breathing, trying to breathe, just reciting things in my head to make sure I stayed calm because I was full panic mode. And when people go, oh, is it that hard? Hold your head underwater until you think you can't hold your breath anymore. Now have your buddy hold you underwater longer until
Yeah.
all you think about is oxygen. That's about what it felt like every time. And I just kept putting myself there. And what I started to notice was I was getting a little further, a little further, a little further, a a little further, until all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, I can run 400 meters without being winded.
Oh,
First,
yeah.
I couldn't walk 20 meters when I started, but I had to be willing to go there. And if there was any takeaway, you have to be willing to go to the place that you're scared of and know that you're not going to die, but you're going to be terrified.
Dude, and that translates into every aspect of life. We would call it drown proofing in the military, where hands are tied
Tied
up,
up,
feet are
bouncing up
bound.
and
Yep.
down.
And
Yep.
then, we would have to do these 25 meter underwater swims. And the first time I was like, 25 meters? Are you fucking high? And I'm
Yeah,
like sitting
that's
there
so far
panicking,
underwater, man.
dude. And then sure enough, when it came down to it, you a little bit more, a little bit more. And then before you know it, dudes are doing 50 meters underwater. That's,
Like this too.
dude. And then you start to think, okay, well, other areas of my life can I apply this to? Social media is like a big thing for me because, being in the military, very secretive of your life and your patterns. And of course, again, well, who am I to teach people stuff? Well,
Opposite.
drop your fucking ego and just make yourself, vulnerable and give to the world, and just understand, hey, little more by little more. You just keep pushing that needle forward every single day in all areas of life, financial, relational, business. And before you know it,
One rep. Right.
you're so much more comfortable. Yeah, exactly, man.
Well, and I think people look behind them at where they were, and then they create an identity as in that's who I am.
Yeah,
And I'm like, but
100%.
that's not who you are. It's just like a disease. I made a post about depression today, and I really struggle. I struggle really hard with because I feel like I dealt with it. I wasn't it. And they're not the same.
Right.
I had anxiety every time I went to go work out. But did I label it as anxiety? No, I just went, fuck, this is going to suck. All right, this is going to suck. Here we go. And I would do it. And I would force myself to go. I never wanted to. That was probably the 95% of the time back then where I'm like, I don't want to do any of this. I went out and did it anyway. I worked out for 2 hours every day for a year straight. I did not miss. I refused to miss. Oxygen machine in the background, cannula in my nose, doing pull-ups. I didn't care. And I got hate for it. And I'm like, let me get this straight. I had a lung removed. Yeah, see what I mean? Your face too. Like, are you nuts? I had a lung removed. I went through cancer. My wife almost watched me die, almost orphaned my kids. And you're hating on the guy that's doing the work to change his conditions. And it was well, you're just trying to be dramatic. You're trying to be a hero. We get it, bro. And I'm like, I actually thought about it today. I wrote it down on my phone because I went, why you're hating it's in one of so every morning I post my SOP, right? And I said, you're hating on it because it's showing you what you're not doing, and it's taking away your validation that you live in that says, I don't have to, because now you're seeing someone that did it. Like, who goes through their phone, comes across a post and goes, hold on, let me stop and shit all over that guy.
Yeah,
That
no, that's
already
crazy.
says that you're the fucking bottom, because anyone that's killing it doesn't, they go, I'm just gonna keep on going. They don't get triggered by shit. They're too busy doing their own stuff.
And they're looking for winning. They're looking for winning, so they can be like, "Oh, cool. What's this guy doing? Let me see what he's doing.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool."
I look for people killing it so I can take notes.
Exactly.
I don't look for people killing it so I can discount and disregard their wins to make myself feel better for quitting, because excuses only sound good to the people that make them. But then they go, what the winnings, when people winning, it's accountability, right? Accountability, lack of accountability in them, accountability in me. It always feels like an attack to people hiding behind their excuses.
Yeah.
And so they look at that and they go, oh, well, fuck him, fuck her. They're, bullshit. They're doing this, they're doing that. You mean winning? Because they're doing the work. There's no secret hack. You're not, you don't like it, because they despise themselves because they know they could be doing more.
But they could always just stop and change. But it's comfortable and
One
society
decision.
Conditions. Yeah, dude, that's it. That is it.
And it's not even comfortable. They hate where they are. They're
True.
afraid of moving forward. They hate the position they're in. They just don't hate it enough. True. You have to hate where you are more than you hate the work required to change where you are. And most people go, I hate where I am, but my support group's so high. And people don't even do the work because they're more afraid of the judgment and opinions of their peers than they are of the actual work.
Cab driver number 2 in the crab bucket.
That's right. Right. Yeah. I remember when Bedros told that crab bucket story to me, and I was like, yeah, crab's in a fucking bucket, man. Like, no way. But I'm so limited with my time here. If I don't exploit everything I've got to make it everything I want, I think I'm insulting, number one, my creator. Number two, everybody that believes in me.
Yeah.
I think if you're sloppy and you're gelatinous and you're broke and you're in a marriage where you sit there and you crap all over your spouse or you expect them to, it's Friday and you're supposed to blow me on a Friday while I watch the football game, and yet you're a shitbag, dude, you are not worth the time, because you are not worth the time to yourself.
Yeah.
Upgrade yourself. Don't look externally to upgrade. Look in the mirror and go, who do I become? Who do I need? Because that's what I had to do. Because when people asked me, I had somebody make a post and like, I miss the old, kind of corny guy that used to post PT stuff. How about you go back to doing that? And I went, so you want me to stop evolving so you feel better about your complacency? I refuse. The guy that went into the hospital is not the same man that came out. I was hitting probably 95% of the time. I never miss now because I don't get another chance. Like I asked for an upgraded life. And I think this is where people really struggle, is they go, I want a better life. Great. Do you believe you get a better life? Because wanting and believing are not the same. But I want a better life. And then God goes, cool, here's the test. And people go, oh, I don't want it that much. I go, listen, when you ask for a better life, you will be presented with challenges, and you will get the challenges over and over and over again until you surpass the challenge. Then you will have moved into a new life that you deserve instead of the one you deserve right now. And when you surpass that challenge, you will do it again. And then you go, I deserve more. And God goes, then show me. And so you do the work. Well, I asked for a big life, and I said, I asked for cancer. And people go, dude, that's fucked up. I go, no, it's not. I asked. My vision is so big. Like if I shared my mission, most people would fucking die with just how big I think. And it's because, and people go, well, that's crazy to you. I don't have a switch to slow me down. I don't. And before, I played a little safe in places. When I came out, I looked at my wife and I went, never again. I will not be a liability to her. I will not be a liability to my son or my daughter. I will not be a liability to you. I will not be a liability to anyone around me. I will be an asset only. And that's all I do not know how to do. And I refuse to allow myself to be anything less. And so I started upgrading myself, and you get hate, right? You get hate, and you get people going, well, why would you do that? I had to die to become who I am right now. And people go, well, that's a little cliche. I fucking had to, because if I didn't, I'm the same person. All I did was hide it. Well, I didn't hide it. This is me. This is all me. And if you don't like it, that's not my problem. That's your reflection on yourself.
Yeah.
And I think people are very afraid of who they want to be because of somebody else saying, I don't like you. But if they don't support your vision, then why are they there?
They're not a part of
Why are
that
they
journey.
there?
Yeah.
Like my circle of friends is so small, so small. Like my tight group, like people like Bedros or Brad or Andy, Elliot, like these guys and my wife and a couple of really close friends, you in the future, to be honest, like you're a good fucking dude. And that matters to me. But I keep it tight because if they're not like-minded, they're going to pull. I don't care how good of a swimmer you are. If I'm hanging on to your legs underwater, I don't care how good you are. You're going to drown.
That's true. It's 100% true.
And
Just
people
talking
go, but
about
I
this
can do
yesterday.
it. You have to be willing to go, I will do whatever it takes and refuse to stop. So you resolve in advance to never quit. People resolve in advance to keep going until they find something that's too hard, and then they quit.
And it just perpetuates that victim mentality, and it reinforces their identity of that character, the person who's always stuck in this position where it's just so hard. It's always victimize me. And then they see
the past is an identity, right?
Yep.
The past is an identity. Instead of going, that was who I was, I refuse to stay there. Instead of, well, they support me and they like me here, though. Victims get a lot of attention. It's just not the attention that is going to help them or that you need.
Well, dude, I was telling somebody this recently, because I used to, when I was like a teenager, dude, I was like shooting up dope by like 16 years old. I was sticking needles in my arm, and they were like, oh, so I was the video recording guy that I was working with recently. He goes, oh, so you're a former addict too. And I was like, no. And he's like, well, what do you mean? You're in recovery. I was like, dude, no.
Exactly.
I don't identify as like a former drug addict. Like, fuck that shit, dude.
Some people say to me, oh, you're in remission. No, I never had fucking cancer. Dude. And people go, oh, come on. I go, I never accepted it. I never accepted it. I never went, this is what I have. And it was for that reason right there. I refused to accept it. I refused. And people go, come on. I go, dude, that's part of it.
It's never the very successful, like regardless of what your levels of success are, like it's never the super successful person who's saying that to you. Oh, come on. No, it's
Nope.
always the people who have never accomplished their dreams, or they're not accomplishing their dreams, who are always just, again, trying to bring you down, saying, "Well,
And not
come
working
on."
towards it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's
Like, I don't care if
never.
somebody's, no, I don't care if somebody's 200 pounds overweight. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you are fat as fuck. If you are doing all the work to change that, dude, I will support I will go to war for you. But if
Which is
you're
a need it.
validating why you're trying to navigate this world in a fat body and you expect airplane seats to be bigger because you can't stop stuffing Oreos in your pie hole, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Why? Don't expect me to change. Like, don't expect the world to change for your lack of accountability,
Mhm.
and yet people go, but you should, we should accept everybody. I accept you. I just don't
Yeah.
agree with you.
You're being toxic when you say that, Trevor. It's like, shut the
Oh
fuck up.
God, this
You
is
know,
this is
like,
toxic masculinity.
yeah,
Oh, listen to this alpha douche. And I'm like,
yeah,
no, I'm just a man, which means that if you went back to 1950, every man was apparently toxic because they were all gritty motherfuckers.
dude.
And I think that's where it needs to go again. As we train our children, we lead them, and it's okay to make, like, tough is a good thing.
It
But
is.
people, even that, committed is more important, because people go, dude, you are tough as hell. I go, I'm not tough at all. I'm not tough at all. I'm committed as fuck though.
I
You
think
will not take it as far as I will. I always say that you will not take it as far as I will.
I think toughness is an attribute of commitment. Like,
Yeah,
you,
it's the
you,
byproduct,
yeah, there needs to be some correlation there, I think.
because
Um,
there's tough and stupid too, right?
yeah, which
Yeah,
I've guilty.
we
You
yeah,
know, is what it
so many
is.
stupid things where you think it's something until you realize, dude, you did it out of ego,
Yeah,
which means you're
yeah.
an idiot, right?
It's
And
how I
we've all
lost all
done
my
it.
money. Yeah,
Oh, dude, it's all of us have done things like that. But if you come out of the side and you go, don't do that again. Here's what I
cool.
learned. Here's where I go. But people go, I'm going to do that again. Why?
Yeah,
Because I identify with it. Because it
yeah,
makes me feel like somebody's going to look at me and go, oh, you have this problem. You don't have that problem. You choose to have that problem. You
yeah.
aren't that problem. You want to stay there because everybody looks at you. And people, they don't believe you until you start putting points on the board. So when you tell people you're going to crush it, they go, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. Until you start putting points on the board, and then everybody either shit talks you or wants to be your friend.
Yep, yeah. And most of them,
And all those
unfortunately,
and
come
all
from.
those people, I'm out.
Yep.
The people that loved you right at the bottom when you were scraping by with nothing, and they're still rolling with you. Oh yeah, those are the people. And the circle becomes very small, and you see it because
Yeah,
adversity and trials exposes true character.
it does.
Like money doesn't change people, it exposes people. Adversity doesn't change people, it exposes people.
That's why I tell people with all this, like, anti-bullying stuff on the playground with, like, little kids, look, like, I'm not a big fan of bullying. Like, I've dedicated my life to standing up to the bully.
Oh,
Like,
you
the
cut
true
off there for a
bully.
second. You were saying
Yeah,
anti-bullying on the playgrounds? Yep.
yeah. Like, I'll tell people that I think bullying should exist on the playground. I don't think that we should get involved with all of it. And people, oh, you're just a bully fan. No, I'm not. I've dedicated my life to standing up against bullies. I've literally gone to war in foreign countries to help people
I was
stand up
just going to
against
say,
fucking
what are you
bullies.
doing? What did you do for a living? That,
And
right?
but there is on the playground, in a moderate sense, right? Because everybody's all is zero tolerance, right? No, we need to expose kids to adversity so they can become capable of solving these problems and these high stress
Yep.
situations, so they can develop into greater characters as they grow older. And the adversity exposing you for who you are, and molding you into the person that you can be. Man, I'm absolute advocate of
You
that.
you need that. You need that. Like I look at our son, he gets into fights 3 to 4 days a week on a mat in a controlled setting for the last decade plus.
It's
Elbows,
adversity.
knees, submissions. He gets his ass beat and he beats ass. And either way, he's not any different. Whether he wins or loses, if he loses, he's irritated. Not at anything other than, oh man, what do I have to do? He is the fastest kid to literally get knock down and scramble, sprawl, and get right back into it like this. He doesn't like to lose, but doesn't sit there and dwell on it. He doesn't like to lose and goes, I'm about to fucking make noise. And what I love about, I think jujitsu is probably one of the best skill transfer exercises, because it teaches you how to fail. I think what
Hmm.
happens is kids aren't taught to fail, like you said, on the playground. They're taught that you should always live in a bubble and everybody should get along. And if you don't go along, or you need to go along to get along, right? And that if there's any adversity, don't worry, it's never going to happen, and we'll cuddle you and put you in a little bubble. But I think if you don't learn how to fail, you're crippled by failure as an adult. And then it happens
Absolutely.
and you just get buried and you become a victim by choice. But I mean,
Hmm.
he was 6 years old, Joseph, and we were leaving jujitsu. It might have even been 5. He was really young, and we were driving home from Gracie's, and he got his ass beat all over the place. He's probably 6, and he just got his butt handed to him. Like, it was just one thing after the other. And I said, and I never ever chastise my kids for losing. I don't. I think that's just douchey. I ask them what happened and where they could have done better, but I do that when they win too.
Mm.
I'm going to push you on either side of the equation because I've never had a coach. I mean, I played hockey. My wife was a pro soccer player. Like, I've never played hockey and had a coach go, "Oh, you did a good job, man. Nice work." They go, "Hey, you killed it. How do we do one more point?"
Hmm.
That's a coach, right? So I looked at him and I go, just this little peanut next to me in the truck. And I go, "Hey, so buddy, what happened today, man?" He didn't miss a beat. And everybody I tell the story goes, "Come on, bullshit." And I go, "You don't know my son," which is no one who's killing it would ever say that. It's always
Right.
low level, low frequency motherfuckers. And I said, "What happened?" He goes, he goes, "Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail." He goes, today I was the nail. I almost stopped the truck, Joseph. I sat there and I went, I have about 90% of my friends that need to hear what you just said, and they're grown ass men and women.
Wow.
He didn't miss a beat. And I went, and he is the best way to describe our son is he's an old soul. He's just an old soul. He's just that guy. And he's going to go far in life because he's like that. I've watched him just get crippled and crushed and get right back in. I've watched him dance all over people twice his size. And they're like, "How did the spider monkey kick my ass?" And I've watched people smaller than him tear him apart. He never changes his mission.
Mm.
That is what I think going on a playground, getting knocked off the hill does. Get back
Yeah.
up on the hill, right? I played King of the Hill. I got thumped. I got winded. I got knocked around. When it was a fight, you know what? Somebody punch you in the stomach or whack you in the mouth. You get a bloody nose, a little bit of a fat lip, and everybody's friends the next day. Now they're like, I'm going to put you on social media blast, and I'm going to attack your family. I'm going to try and poison your fucking dog and like
Yeah.
weird shit. I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? There's
Yeah.
too much hate because they're not accepting the ability to excel because they go, it's not
Yeah.
possible because they're being in the indoctrination, right? That you can't succeed. You shouldn't succeed. And success is bad. So now
Hmm.
they hate on success, but they vilified and ostracized success and winning and being fit. Like when you walk in, this is my resume.
Yeah.
My body is my resume. And when people go, "You don't need to be jacked. Dad bods are good," I go, bullshit.
No,
Just so we're clear, your wife doesn't want to fuck a fat dude. Just
dude.
so we're clear. And it doesn't mean it's not people like, "Oh, come on." I go, listen, your wife wants the most jacked, shredded, healthy, fit version of you. She
This
doesn't want some
is,
other dude. She wants you to take
yeah,
care of yourself because she doesn't want to push your ass around in a wheelchair.
dude. This is such a fundamental concept of survival, even, right? Like, there's a reason we find things attractive is because it has to do with fertility and protection. And even though your personality, yes, it is absolutely imperative to a good, positive relationship, doesn't mean that she wants
Absolutely.
like a fat, disgusting version of you. I just called the dude out about this a couple nights ago, and eating cookies every night before bed, and how he could still run. And I was like,
What?
motherfucker, I was like, no, like first of all, your ass can't even really run that good. And second of all, you
Right.
look fucking disgusting. Like, take your fucking shirt off. No, exactly.
Exactly. Take your shirt off. Are you proud of the man? But they've gone, you should validate that you should be proud. You
Yeah.
should be proud to be fat, but I'm not. I would never be that way because I also function better. But I think when you are fit and lean and strong, you are also a better person. You are
Yeah.
also more confident. You can also protect your spouse. People go, "Oh, great.
There you
Well, you
go.
can't protect it if I have a gun." Oh, God, there we go. We're arguing the extremes again, right?
Dude.
But there's
And I always,
always
go
I
ahead.
don't have time for that stuff.
Yeah,
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 it's like
yeah, yeah.
people will always combat what they like. People hate on what they've quit on. It comes down to that. They know they've quit on it. They know they're not willing to do the work. So they hate on instead to make them feel better about where they are, but they're still in the same spot. I go,
Dude.
all that hate and all that nonsense that you're spewing online when you stop and you shit all over somebody or you trash talk your friends, like, "Oh, what? Now you're too good. You have to go to the gym. You can't stay for happy hour. You can't eat this cheesecake. You can't come over to the barbecue and get just shit faced at our party. What? Now you're all gym bro." Yeah, motherfucker, because I want to have the best life because I don't care what you say. When you're overweight, you don't feel good,
Dude, you don't. You don't. It's
you
plain and
know?
simple.
And
Physiologically, you're an unhealthy person.
When people go, you don't, not everybody has to be jacked. Yes, you do. Not everybody has to be rich. Yes, you do.
It's
Not
never
everybody should be in a great marriage. Yes, you do. You just don't
and
want to
it's
admit it because there's work involved.
and it's never the jacked, rich, well relationship to people who are saying this stuff. It's always everybody else.
0% of those people. You will
Yeah.
never go into anybody's feed and trash talk them. Zero chance of that. Zero chance.
No, it's a fucking waste of
In
time.
10 years of being online, I've never stopped on somebody's post and crapped on it. Never, not
Never.
once.
No, why the fuck
It
would
doesn't
you?
even cross my mind, right? Like, it's
No,
so weird.
no.
And yet people go, oh, I'm going to do that. And these are grown ass men who stop and drop all kinds of hate. I have one post that's gone so viral, and it's just my wife and I on a beach where I'm like, I look at her and I rub her stomach and I rub mine, and I'm like, this is normal. This is normal. Listen to this fucking dude. What an asshole. And I'm like, how am I an asshole? What did I do to you? I'm exposing you to the self that you don't like. Upgrade yourself.
Dude.
Right?
And I always tell people this too, because they're like, oh, well, I just have the old Glock 19 to protect myself. And I called somebody out on this pretty recently. I said, dude, you cannot draw a fucking gun out of that fucking gut fast enough to actually fucking shoot somebody who's pointing a gun at your loved one. Like, plain and simple, let's be real. Like, you cannot move fast enough. You cannot fucking think fast enough. You cannot even breathe at all because you're fucking so overweight. So always trying to cop out on these, external tools, external factors. It's never gonna matter. Look, so I've got to get rolling, man.
Yeah, go. I just realized we've been killing
could,
it for a while,
dude. I could talk to you for fucking hours,
all
man.
day, man. Yeah.
Before I close out, dude, just hit people with where they could find you and your coaching program and what you do for people.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, basically, we take men primarily, women as well. Dude, we'll build your business. We'll scale your business. We've done 123 millionaires in the last year. So that's a lot of people. Yeah, from zero. And they're all, you could verify them all. People are like, oh, come on. I can talk to every one of them. We take you from being fat and sloppy to jacked, and nobody beats you down, but we have accountability. And it's a huge community that we're building. But you go to Smashworks, WERX on Instagram, any platform, or you go to Spartan Army LLC. All this stuff is there. Hit me up. And it's always me in the DMs. It's not someone else. It's always me.
Dude, right on, brother.
That's it. Yeah.
Well,
man, I appreciate being here, man. Thank you so much. This is a rip. I like this.
Yeah, likewise, dude. Yeah.